You are now in tune on the one, the force itself. At this time, we're calling the Holy Mass to bless the jamming. Yeah, man, give thanks, I and I. And I is back with another one again. This time, I believe now we're in the 20th of June, which is the first seal on this side of Southern Africa. Yes, of which in this discourse, I is not wish to talk much, but wish to overstand to I to bring about overstanding to I that there's a lot of counterintelligence within the Rastafari movement. And in this time, we don't know who is who. Everyone has dreadlocks. Everyone has red, gold, and green attires. Everyone is popping marijuana. So it's difficult to tell which one is Rastaman. But we as the revolutionaries, we know which one is a true Rastaman. The African people know which one is a true Rastaman, true Rastawoman. Therefore, the African people cannot be confused. And as much as the government, through this capitalist system, is not allowing the people to receive sufficient knowledge, which is stipulated within this democratic constitution that was written, by the way, by the current president and some of the white legal delegates of the capitalist European system, which was written in 1994 and finally amended in 1996. See, there's many amendments. Even now they are busy dealing with the cannabis bill. So it is upon I to stand firm upon the laws of His Majesty. And when we talk about the laws of His Majesty, we are not just talking about the laws of one and one's own awarenesses. We're talking about the laws that govern the human society, the laws of human law. Because everything has law. The sun has law, the moon, the stars, you see. So in this time, what is mostly important for ones and ones to do is to read books. We don't like to read books, and that is a big problem, unfortunately, for this generation of mine, 90s, since I is from 1995 in Perth. So you see these meditations running and happening all the times. You see, but it's for those who stand for justice, those who stand for Rastafari, those who stand for what is good. Because our African ancestors, they left everything for us to pick up. They left the tools necessary for the African revolution, for to continue and defend Africa from its adversaries, from her adversaries. Because as we know, if one can read truly in the African books, you will find that Africa is a matrilineal society. It is not a society based on patriarchism, you see, extremism, you see, patriotism, you see. And as much as those terms can be multi-level, but you must understand that the source of the family is the black woman, is the African woman. Correct term to say, because we know as Africans we have a lot of types of African. The African must understand the African has 6 faces, you see. So you must not see the Somalian brothers, the Kenyan brothers, and think they are sort of a mix with the Arabs or whatsoever. Those are pure Africans, you see. Such as the Khoi and the San people, those are pure Africans, you see. Each with their distinct culture, whereby we know even from these books we get, for instance, the book, The History of South Africa, where they briefly explain the history of I. We know mostly according to science, the adversary cannot explain your true history, because it will help you to gain leverage. So therefore, we know that it is only the African scholars that can truly give the true message, you see, in pertaining our history. Because we as the people of Africa need to research our own history. We don't need people to research it for us, you see. So we found that the Khoi people are mostly herdsmen, as they explain, and we find that the San people are mostly hunters and gatherers, you see. And we find that the Bantu people now are the farmers, the original farmers of this world in this time. Because we find that 2,000 years ago, the Bantus had already invented the shovel. Now, like he rakes ezo zinto zefama zensimbi naxa zayinventwa ngabantu, you see. You can trace back to 2000 back, we didn't have a European modern society back then. Kind of the European modern society started after the Moors and came there to Europe and civilized the European regions there. Yeah, that is the true history, everyone knows that. So if the Bantu people civilized if the Bantu people were the first people to invent the shovels 2,000 years ago, now that's not going pre-dynastic period. I'm talking about the after the dynastic period, which is post-dynastic period, if I can put it in that aspect. So we are not confused in this time. We know the truth. And what is needed in this time is for I and I to just focus on the African economy. That is to say, we must start the norm of buying from each other's products as the African people, the so-called SMMEs, the so-called informal sector businesses. And if you have land, and I must try to plant, you see, we have strategies that are put in place, such as spinach project, whereby if you and I can plant 100 spinaches, and I can gain at least enough money to sustain maybe 2 people for a year. So if you can multiply that 100 spinach, 200 spinach, they can sustain 4 people and so on and so on. So we have all these strategies and all these books in place to help alleviate our African people. But now what is short now is short for I to organize so that the CIA and FBI cannot be on top of I, but I must also be on top of the CIA and the FBI. How? By organizing our African people, irregardless of what the other organizations are doing. The Triple Ks, all the secret organizations, and these organizations, these capitalist governments, the NATO, all these governments that are fighting to oppress the African people, they can carry on. But we as African people must also carry on with our own projects. You see, so we're not trying to fight anyone, because they know they're going to try maybe to arrest us and say we are trying to be terrorists whatsoever. But we're coming through legal grounds. That is to say, we start our own political parties, we start liberating our own lands, we start planting our own foods, we start working to create our own sanitary pads, our own sanitary system particularly, because we don't even produce our own toilet papers. We start producing our own herbal teas, you see, vegetables, fruits, etc., etc. We have African seeds. So that is the type of, if I can put it in a nutshell, in the whole aspect, that is the type of African revolution we are talking about. We're not talking about just taking guns and weapons and burning tires. No, that is just dispelling our image or killing the maparapara. No, that is waste of time. You see. But we'll talk about this one of amaparapara, which is the drug users, our brothers who are using these crack cocaine, which is here in South Africa known as ichoof. Methamphetamine, the scientific name. So we'll talk about in another discourse, but we'll close this discourse for now. But just to recap on what I was talking about the black economy. I was talking about the African economy must be re-established so that we can tackle our socio-economic issues. By doing this, we need to organize as the African legal heads or the African think tanks. We need to organize our African people, start up political parties, you see, whereby now we can also be in these public meetings, in these governmental meetings, so that we can influence also the legislature, the constitution, the parliamentary, you see, the judiciary. Olai, Selassie, Ja, Rastafari, King Haile Selassie, first and forevermore, Sila, Empress, Walataki Yokisai, Ja, Rastafari, King Haile Selassie, first and forevermore, Sila. You are now in tune on the one, the host self at this time, calling the Holy Mass to bless the German.
Has been provided by his friend Khrushchev because planes of his own country's airline have been impounded for debts since they landed in this country. And the scene at the airport offered the confusion that has come to be associated with the comings and goings of the Cuban leader. And here's how it looked and sounded.
Why are you flying in a Russian airplane, Fidel?
Simply because Soviets are our friends, and here you took our airplanes. Here in United States, the authority robbed our airplanes, and the Soviet lend their airplane. That is the
American people that not your friends?
The American people, I think, is good people.
But the American authorities?
Yes, they have not to charge with the guilty of all the lies that publicity tell to them. The people of the United States is good people. Harlem people is wonderful people.
How do you like the
United States people is very good people.
How do you like the American press?
But
American, how do you like the American press? Without getting close to the microphone.
yes, you the reporters are wonderful. You the writers are wonderful. But you are not the owners.